It's exactly that time of the day, 12 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. We are in the morning day trading room. We're looking over at trades right now, keeping an eye out for some things. We have a really special guest. This gentleman and myself actually got a chance to hang out and do an interview. His website, I might be typing it in wrong. Nope, I'm not. tradingnut.com. So he has a really well-versed vocabulary for speaking with traders. A great website. I love working with people who have good podcasts and good content. They want to enrich lives. So I want to bring on the show Mr. Cam Hawkins. So Cam, I just gave you permission. There you go. You can unmute it. You've already done that. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm very good, thanks, Jeremy. Thanks for the introduction. It was lovely. Very early here, actually. It's 7 a.m. So guys, if I'm a bit croaky, that's why.
No worries, man. Yeah, we've been scheduling this one for a bit. So tell everyone where you are. Why is it so early in your neck of the woods, Cam?
I'm over in New Zealand, which is about 3 hours south of Australia. So pretty much the bottom of the world. And I'm sitting in the middle of the country here, and we're in the middle of summer, and most of the world's in winter.
That's right. Amazing. Man, that's so killer. So tell me about New Zealand. I mean, I've never been, and it's on my list to go for sure. How's the internet? Is it trade-worthy?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the internet's fine. Look, it's like, how could I describe it? I mean, it's a modern country, right? It's a first world country. And even though we're so far away from everyone else, it's essentially like a sort of, I suppose, what would I say? It's quite different from everything else. It can be a little bit backwards, but most of it is quite modern. I mean, you just haven't got all the regulations and rigmarole that you have in sort of, heavily populated countries. Sure. So, I mean, in the same day, it's easy enough to get to like you could go skiing and surfing in the same day, and you're only ever a few minutes from the beach wherever you live, because it's quite a narrow island. A lot of bush, fresh air, and we take it for granted in the end. I think I live in a place where I have no beaches, yet I've got like 7 beaches within 15-minute drive from where I am. I love it. So yeah, look, it's a lovely place. It's so easy to do things. I mean, I lived in the UK for 7 years, and I was in London most of that time, and know what big city life's like, and the sort of Europe, and haven't spent a lot of time in the States, but I've been to New York and that, so I sort of know the difference. And it's just easy. It's easy to get things done over here. It's easy to sort of go and do things. If you're going to do something, you can probably if you've got a day planned, you've probably got 3 or 4 things planned for that day. Whereas I know when I was in the UK, it was literally, if you were going to do something in the day, it was one thing. You do the one thing, takes you 2 hours to get there, takes you 2 hours to get back, and that's the day done.
That's it. That's all you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
I can totally respect that. Tell everyone a little bit about your website. Why did you create it? How long has it been up? And what's the purpose and mission of it?
Well, look, I mean, I started it about almost 3 years ago now, and I've been involved in trading like probably 10 years ago, and I just got waylaid and doing all the wrong things, and sort of caught up like in I suppose the hype that goes with the industry. And then I actually don't know what triggered me to start the podcast. I was listening to a lot of podcasts at the time, and then I just thought to myself, why don't I actually reach out to guys that are doing this for a living and find out how they tick? That was the premise of the whole thing. I just want to find out what they're doing differently from me to work out what I need to do differently to become successful at this. Yeah. And I called it 52 Traders at the start, so it was a different name. Mm-hmm. And the idea was to interview 52 traders in a year and do that every year and just see how I went. And I did my 52. I went on to do 154. And actually, it wasn't 154 traders. It was about 120 traders, and then there was a couple of psychologists in there, and some other guys as well. everything from algorithms to stocks, futures, forex, options, order flow, traders to like Wyckoff and every sort of trading style you could possibly imagine. And then it was at that point in time it ended up being a paid podcast. So it was like one of the very few paid podcasts where people paid a monthly fee, and I did the podcast for them. And basically, I sort of realized that it can be quite tough getting people on every single week.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to go back to the free version. So Trading Nuts free. You can pick up my 52 Traders episodes at a small fee. And and look, it's been fascinating just interviewing these guys and hearing the stories, and you get a very good picture of what builds a trader after doing so many interviews. And I mean, others have listened to a lot of the interviews. I don't know anyone who's listened to every single one, but it sure paints a picture.
Totally. Are you trading now full time?
I'm not trading full time at the moment. Unfortunately, the podcast took so much time that I couldn't actually spend enough time trading. I suppose I'm trading full time with robots. So I've been able to build robots, and I taught myself how to build robots in amongst doing the podcast.
Yeah.
And built a few robots that I'm trading now. And there's ways to get access to them on the site. I have a monthly robot that I release, and people can get access to that, and they just sort of trade along in the background. And so that's full time. I'm not making a living out of that yet, but it's heading in the right direction, which is good. And the manual trading is heading in the right direction as well. I've got a few small refinements. I know that I can do it, and it's psychological now. It's down to the psychology of over trading and revenge trading and that sort of stuff. It's literally psychological stuff that I just need to clean up.
So true. So tell us about the psychological thing. What are some of the guests that come on your show? What advice would they have, for someone dealing with over trading, for example?
Well, look, I mean, some of the best advice has been like. One guy would pay somebody he didn't like $50 every time he broke his rules, and so that was his incentive to not breaking his rules. Was like, I don't want to pay this guy $50.
Pay somebody he doesn't like. That's funny.
Yeah, I know. It was the weirdest one ever. Another guy was he realized he had like, I suppose he had an issue with money, right? He was holding on to it too tightly. He valued it too much. He ended up screaming at a $20 note for 20 minutes until he was red in the face. He was literally crying at it because he realized it ruled his world. And then after that, he went off and started giving stuff away that he owned to homeless people on the street. He just drove off and started handing shoes out and stuff that he had, and basically trying to devalue money in his mind, so that when he was trading, he was essentially trading the data and not the funds in his account. So that it's such a psychological thing. Some other good things, obviously getting in the right mindset. A lot of people doing meditation before they trade. A lot of people having these rituals, getting some fitness in, getting some work in. One guy was literally, his view was, I've got to sit. No, what was it? His view was, okay, there's two other things. One guy's view was, he sits at the charts and his main goal is to not place a trade for that session.
Sure.
I'm not going to place a trade. Whatever I do, I don't want to place a trade. So, as you know, you can place a trade on every tick. And so his view was like, there's so many opportunities that he has to be happy at the end of the session to have not placed a trade. And so with that in the back of his mind, it seemed to work. Another guy would literally sit on his hands. So he was sitting on his hands on his seat so that he wouldn't do anything. Another person would have like his trading rules written up on a board, whiteboard in his room in front of his trading desk, so that everything he had to remember was in front of him, which I think is key.
Yep.
Is knowing that you've got to have those things in front of you to remember. What else? What other tips were there? There's so many. I literally in every single episode ask the question, what psychological tips have you got for traders out there? And I think the best one is punishing yourself when you break the rules.
Some form of punishment,
yeah. But then you got to be disciplined enough to do the punishment. If you're going to break your rules, then are you disciplined enough to do the punishment as well?
Yeah, yep. That's a key takeaway. Here, I just had some fun questions for you. I don't know. I said, you know that this wasn't rehearsed, so I always do that. I don't rehearse any questions. I go, hey, let's just have a conversation. It's simple. Let's just talk.
Yeah.
Enjoy each other's company. Have you had anyone on the show that you didn't like? You don't have to mention names, but has there been someone where you had to cut it early? You go, this.
Oh yeah, there was one interview I did, and I never aired it. I've
had one of those at one point in another career as well.
Yeah, it was a guy, and literally the whole thing just was, he only said like one thing, and he repeated it in almost the same way about 20 times, and it was a sales pitch. And he would go on about he was an algorithmic trader, and he'd go on about the honey and the bees, and something about why have a bee when you could have a beehive, and that was all he kept saying about having all these trading robots running for you, and that was it. And it was basically a sales pitch, and I held it for about 2 months, and then he emailed me once, and at that point I was like, I'm sort of 50-50. And then he emailed me again, like, when's it coming out? And I was like, no, I'm not going to put it out. I'm just going to have to tell him that, sorry, mate, it's not going to go out. I was honest with him. I just said, look, mate, it was just too salesy. Yeah. We'll do it again in the future. Don't worry about it. And obviously that was the end of it.
Gotcha. Just one of those situations. That's funny. No, I've had one of those in a situation as well. How do you find the traders that you reach out to? Is it just purely on Twitter?
No. So, look, some guys who listen to the show refer traders to me and say, hey, look, I think this guy's good. I used to ask the guys I had on the show if they could recommend traders, and the irony is traders struggle to most people struggle to recommend traders. And I mean, there's other guys in the industry. So I think, I don't know if you know, I think Top Step Trader, yeah.
Yep.
They recommended I get you on the show, so that was one way to do it. And it's at the point now where I don't need to stress about getting guests on the show. The other thing I'm doing is this year is in actual fact, I wonder if one of your listeners would be keen. I'm looking to get some regular Joe traders, guys who are struggling. Not saying you guys are struggling, but guys who aren't there yet want a bit of extra, I suppose, motivation to come on the show and share their story. So I've got a Forex trader on there at the moment, and his episode's going to go out in a couple of weeks. Okay. And I'm looking for ideally a stock trader and then a futures trader, just to sort of round it out, and then follow the guys over the course of a year. So I don't know if you've got any students there either listening or if they're here we go. What's this guy? Dr. Falcone.
Dr. Falcone. What's your email? I can have him email you because whoever.
Email. Yeah, cool. It's cam@tradingnut.com.
Tradingnut.com. Yeah, if you want to be on Cam's show, you want to be on a podcast, reach out to him. I've interviewed a lot of traders as well. That's usually what I do is, like I said, every Wednesday at this time, I reach out to someone in the trading industry. And for most of 2018, I did all internal, just just traders within real life trading. And in 2019, I'm because 2017 I did external. 2018 I did internal, and then 2019 I'm gonna do a little bit of both.
Ah, cool,
But
cool.
yeah, man, I'm sure some people will reach out to you if you guys want to be on Cam's podcast. I think you and I have another schedule for sometime in February.
Yeah. We unfortunately our one was so quick. I never got the chance to ask you about whether or not you had any traders you could recommend for me.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you have by the sound of it.
Plenty. Oh man, plenty. No, yeah, without question. So when you're mentioning your bots, is that a forex that you're doing, or is it what futures?
Oh, robots. Yeah, so it's mainly forex.
Okay.
It's on the MetaTrader platform.
Mm-hmm.
So you can trade whatever your broker allows you to trade. They don't typically do a lot of stocks. Some brokers do like the main tech stocks, but it's mainly forex, cryptos, and indices. I mean, they call them CFDs, which I think, unfortunately, they're banned in the States.
Right, they are.
Yeah. So it's metals, commodities, that sort of thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Do you have a question that you ask that's your favorite when you're asking your traders?
Well, I think that, I ask, I suppose so. Like the question at the end of the show is probably my favorite, where I ask my guests for a full trading strategy. So basically, I asked, I really sort of push it. I didn't do it in the first few episodes because I thought it was just too cheeky. And look, it's a case of asking and seeing what comes back. And I asked for like a stop loss, take profit target, market time frame. Basically, it's something the guys listening can try it at home for the week, or at least pick something from and learn something from, because it just gives a little bit more detail. I don't want people like sort of inundated trying, a million strategies. I mean, the good thing is when I'm building these strategies for my robots, it comes in handy because I've got a whole bunch of strategies that I can pull from and look to. But it's quite. I like that question just because if you piece it all together from the start of the interview to the end of the interview, you can pretty much use it as a bit of a training in its own right. Mm-hmm. You've got the psychological part. You got the we talk about stuff to analyze on a chart. We talk about then I suppose the other question that I like is, what's the one thing you'd recommend any trader spend the next month mastering, and why should they spend the next month mastering that one thing, and how can they go about doing it? I think that one's quite good because you really sort of get like, if there was one thing you had to do a month on this thing. So it gives people a chance to go off and, I suppose, just say, look, man, if I'm just going to do, if the answer's good, and if I just spend 1 month doing that, I should take myself from A to B. Mm-hmm. And it seems like the average time for someone to become successful in this space is about 7 years. And I asked the question, how long does it take people to go from newbie to consistently profitable? And it seems like 7 is about right. Then it's you do master something every month, and then in 7 years you're probably pretty much going to be there, I would have thought.
Yeah. 7 years. That is a long time.
Yeah. And I suppose 7, the fastest I've heard is 6 months. Mm-hmm. And other people, 18 months there's been a few around there as well. And the guys that do it quickly, here's the secret. They spend 18 hours a day in front of the charts.
Yeah.
Literally 18 hours a day for months on end until they're like, eyesight shot. Their eyes are probably bleeding, and, the health is gone and everything. They're literally just addicted to it. And then they go in for eye surgery, and then they can trade again. Right? Yeah, so that is essentially one of the biggest things. So there's two things. One is chart time. The other one is back testing. Those are the two things that everyone shies away from, and are the two critical components, right? So if you can get your back testing down, if you can get your chart time in, and it shouldn't even be chart time, right? It should just be something that you enjoy doing. because you enjoy looking at where price is. And that's those two things there, that passion and that chart time, whether it be back testing or actual in the live market.
Wow. I mean, what's a back testing strategy that you've heard of? Is it just going back in time on the charts, or is it, kind of paid to play? What are some softwares that you've heard of that work well?
So I mean, I use Soft for FX, which is it's mainly FX based. I can't remember exactly what pairs you can, or what, maybe it has got indices and stuff. It's got a whole bunch of data that comes with it. So all my stuff's on MetaTrader. So if you guys aren't using MetaTrader, then it may not be useful. Let me just fire it up. I think it's on this machine. Actually, I'll just go on the website now and have a look. But it's basically, it's quite good because it's got all the news releases as well. And you can see the news coming up. You can do the multi-time frame toggling. And it gives you a good 20-odd years of back data. Let me have a look. I'm not too sure if it's because most of you guys stock traders.
Yep, stocks and options. We definitely trade some forex, futures, and cryptos. They're kind of sprinkled in, but mostly stocks and options.
And the other one's Forex Tester. I mean, as I said, it's all forex based.
That's okay.
Let me have a look here. Let's see if I can find the symbols that it trades. I don't think it's going to be easy, but anyway, I'll keep knocking around here on the site and see if I can find it. It's not going to be easy. They don't make it easy to see. I knew the website was rubbish. It's not going to tell us.
That's okay.
Here we go. Here we go. Forex. Okay, well, right, here's what we got. Forex pairs is about 4 times. That's probably maybe 30 odd. They got Brent crude oil, WTI light crude oil, indices. They've got pretty much all the major indices, and then some other forex pairs as well. So it's mainly forex, a few indices, and commodities, just the oils.
Now that back testing, is it manual or is it automated somehow?
Oh, so that's manual, and
okay.
And the automated stuff. I mean, I do my own automated testing as well, which is I use an outfit called Tick Story, which has tick data for pretty much. Actually, I think that does have some stocks on it as well. I'm pretty sure it does. So it doesn't have news, unfortunately, which can be a bit of a pain. So you got to try and overlay news somehow. Yeah.
Have you ever used TradingView? Not that I'm pitching it, but it's good for. This is actually created primarily as like a forex crypto program. So you can see my chart, right?
Yeah, I have used it, and I always, I don't know, I always struggled with. I just got frustrated because I didn't know how to use it properly, and I always just reverted back. So, I mean, tell me what.
So, for example, if I want to back trade, let's say I want to back trade the daily charts. I just pulled up the USD Canadian dollar and click these little 2 arrows. Boom. You just click on that, and then from here you go day by day, and they have a paper trading panel. You can like right click it, and if you wanted to.
Okay.
If you want to buy, not right click, sorry, actually click the chart. You'd be able to like practice buying it and selling it. They can link some of these to actual brokers as well. But really, this is how I back trade. So I'll kind of just go candle by candle, right? So kind of every single day, and just kind of practice it that way. I just didn't know if that was something that you had experience with or not, but it's definitely useful.
I do remember when they brought this out, because when I was first looking at TradingView, it was it didn't have this feature, and then they brought it out.
Right.
And then I looked at it and I was like, this is good, but it didn't have the tick data. As you said, it's candle by candle, isn't it? It doesn't grow the candle, which...
It doesn't grow the candle, yeah. So if you go, for example, 15-minute chart, let's just do 15-minute. It won't grow the candle, so it'll just give you the whole 15-minute candle. So it's like, okay, this was 15 minutes, and then all this is 15 minutes. But no, it doesn't grow the candle, which, there's definitely some pros and cons with it.
Yeah. So I mean, which is, I suppose, if you're trading the end of candle, then it doesn't make a difference. So yeah, I mean, it's probably something I should look at.
It's cool. It's
Yeah,
useful.
it's probably, yeah. I mean, I'm so used to the other one, but I suppose the good thing about this is you can probably save it and then come back to it on a different PC and all that sort of stuff. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? Yeah, it's in the
Yeah.
cloud.
Yeah, it's definitely a killer program. So regarding kind of your strategy, do you have at this point in time, tell me a strategy that you like with the currency pairs before? What's something that you look for?
What I like is, I suppose, how do you say, when support flips to resistance and then retests.
Okay.
It's hard to describe, but basically when price sort of breaks through a level and then comes back and then touches where the previous level, and then starts to move away from it, that's essentially it. And your stop can be quite tight up against the previous level, and then you're targeting basically the next level below it. So can I see an example here on this chart? So I can see one where we are now is actually sort of, you can see, I don't know if I can you can give me the mouse or anything.
Let me see if I can do that. Give me a quick second. How would I do that? More. No, I can't do that. But tell me. I'll draw.
Okay, so just see where you are now.
Yep.
Well, where price is now. Yeah. So essentially, that level where it's come up very like 3 bars in from the right side of the right side of the chart.
Okay.
You've got that sort of, it's basically where it's come into that the wicks that are hard to describe. There's so many wicks.
Yeah.
I'd need to have access to describe it, but I'd be drawing a box around the wicks, which if you just hover your mouse, keep going back, and again keep going, probably about 10 bars back, and yeah, there. So that candle there. So you've got a lot of buying into that candle and the candle next to it. So obviously people are pushing market up there, right? So I would draw a box probably from the base of that candle, or maybe the candle above it.
Okay.
And to the bottom of the wick. Sorry, to the bottom, to the open of that candle. Sorry, so from the bottom wick to the open of that candle at the bottom. That, and then drag it across. Okay, so so maybe that I probably may not have taken that trade. So I want to see that clearly come out the bottom of that and have some space, then go back into it, and really it should be tapping it. It really should be sort of tapping it and then coming back down. Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And look, to be fair, that's probably not the best example. I may not. I probably would have looked for it to come a bit lower and retest the one below it. So the box, the wicks below it, I would have looked for that, because that's just, there's more volume in there. What
time frame do you trade your Forex on?
Mainly on the 5-minute chart. I'm trying to get a bit higher. The 5-minute can be a little bit choppy. As I said, I'm not. What my main issue is, if I lose the first trade, I just go crazy. Right? That's it. If I lose the first trade, and I look back and I'm like, that's exactly like my golf. It's exactly like my golf. As soon as I stuff up the tee shot, I'm just all over the shop. I'm like hacking my way like it's a 12-shot hole.
That's right.
And I'm literally just going, so if I get my first trade all right, I'm fine for the day. It's just when I hit the first trade, it's my problem. And then I just, all of a sudden, I'm like an hour into it going, why have I placed 12 trades? None of these, and I look back and I'm like, two of the 12 are part of the strategy, and the rest of it, I think I'm some sort of savant that can just pre-price.
And it's all on the 5 minute, you say?
Yeah, it's all on 5 minute. Yeah. So you can see it here. You can see it here on. So there's a couple of options here, or a couple of entries here, where you've got support probably around about the 7 o'clock mark. You got that support level there where it's move your mouse up a bit.
7 o'clock. So this is 7.
And right? Down a bit, and down a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, they're right below. Yeah, so that wick there.
In here.
And then price goes into it. So when the price bounces out of that, you've got your shorts.
Gotcha.
And it's with the trend there.
Gotcha. So you're pretty much. I mean, so the question is, like, when it comes up into there, you want it. Does this candle, for example, does this candle and this candle form? And then once it forms, like, okay, big upper shadow, I'm shorting there, stop there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And if you want to be high risk, you go on the where you've drawn the line.
Right.
And you just put an arbitrary stop in, and if you're with the trend, then you're all good. And if you're looking at higher time frames and doing a bit more analysis, you're probably going to be more confident that that's going to work in your favor.
What's a bigger time frame? So do you like do 15, 5 in the day?
Literally starting from the weekly down. So getting a view of where, even sometimes a monthly, getting a view of where everything's at, right?
Totally.
And then all the way down to the point where, okay, if you know where you're at in the higher time frames, you know where it's likely to be headed, and you can have just a better idea here. I'm actually experimenting. So this is what I have been doing. I'm just experimenting now with another approach, which I won't share here, but it's probably it'd be like near on impossible to explain. And so I'm going to experiment with that over the course of the, or at least backtest with it over the course of the next week or so, just to see if it's valid. Because I think it's similar to this, but the line's sloped as opposed to flat. Yeah,
gotcha. When did you start?
So there's no indicators. It's all just raw chart. The only thing I would look at now and again is volume. Right.
When did you start trading Forex?
Oh, back in 2009 or 10. I think probably 2010.
Gotcha.
Yeah, 9 years ago. 9 or 10 years ago.
Have you ever traded the stock market?
Oh, no, I not traded it. No, I've never traded it. Part of the problem is in New Zealand, we've only got New Zealand stock market, stock exchange, and then the fees get ridiculous for offshore. So I did originally try, when I first started trading, options. So actually Forex is probably about 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
Because I started trading options on the Australian stock exchange, and I spent 3 months learning how to do it, and I thought, 3 months I've watched this course over and over again, and I thought, here I go, and it was like $1,000 you had to put up for the options contract, and I just basically freaked out and cut the loss too quick, and then I was like, and actually I think shortly after that I stumbled into Forex, and I think Forex was really just sort of taking off. Then I was like, oh, you need $100 to you can trade on much less capital, and it seems like the data's more readily available and all this sort of stuff. So I bought this data feed and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, basically by the end of it, I was like, oh, maybe I'll head to the Forex just because of the cost of entry was a lot lower. And so that's where I've ended up, and that's where I've stayed. And I think also, given the fact that it's 24-hour market, it does help with this time zone.
Right.
And you can pick and choose, which means you've got Asia pairs, you've got, the more European US-based pairs, you can pretty much pick something that's going to be active enough during your the time you got to trade. Whereas stocks always feels a little bit like the US is, for the open for US, it's like 2:00 in the morning here.
Yeah, it's brutal.
So it's not the best.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the best. So therefore, it's like, well, that's I'll be hard pressed to move to stocks. Although I think with the knowledge that I've got, I think moving to stocks is probably I actually might find it easier than forex, because forex is very much a rangy markets, whereas stocks is can trend for periods of time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is, you're not going to get, it can happen, of course, but yeah, usually I think you hit the nail on the head. If you're trading a currency pair, it's not going to just keep going up for a long time. Like a US dollar Canadian, it's not going to just keep skyrocketing. You're not going to get 200, 300, 400% change in the course of a year or something. Well, cool. Yeah, that's the funny thing is I have never traded forex. Like I've helped people. I've coached with traders. I know how pips work. I get it. I know brokers. I know platforms. I've never done it, man. It's just one of those things where I've always understood stocks since a young age, and forex, like currencies, to me, I feel like it's so political.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, eh? It's like there's so much. If you look at the fundamentals and let them, you're either going to be fundamental. You got to be either, I think, fully fundamental or fully technical in forex. You can't sort of do half and half, because the fundamentals is so much that is going on and so much to think about. You've really got to take the long-term view, and technicals, if you know what you're looking for, you can see the same patterns play out time and time again, and it actually becomes fairly easy. And I know a few guys that do quite well in the forex space, so I know it's possible. Yeah, no, it makes sense. I can totally appreciate that. Who is who's, as far as like the forex trader, is there someone that you aspire to be? Just name me some names. Because like I said, I don't really know a lot of forex traders. Who's out there that's kind of like the Warren Buffett of forex? Well, there's a few guys that actually I've interviewed a few guys recently who all sort of fall in that bucket. Mm-hmm. And one of the guys, I think he may have trained both of them. Or at least he trained one of them. One of the guys is called Chris Laurie, and he's literally, his episode went up last week, funnily enough, and it took me ages to get him on the show. And he's been one of these guys that has trained a lot of guys that have gone on to be successful traders. And his view is very much like, don't copy me. I'm going to give you the fundamentals of how the market works, around price and understanding price. And from there, you'll find a way that works for you. And then one of the guys that he trained, it's probably the best story from the whole podcast, is a guy who came on the show as part of a little, was it a contest? Well, I suppose it was an experiment that I was doing with this trader called Nick. And this guy Nick was, he was a pretty good trader. And I'd seen his live rooms in there, and he was like making 25 grand in the morning and ending the day. And it was the trades were going off like machine guns, which I think people liked, but he was in a completely different headspace from everyone, and his strategy was actually quite hard to pick up, and I had no idea what he was talking about by the end of it. Yeah. So anyway, long story short, this one guy I got on, I got 7 people on. It was an experiment to see if this guy could help change the way they traded. One of these guys came back, so they all improved over the 3 weeks, and their back tests actually looked pretty good. And then one of the guys came back to me like 9 months later. He was emailing me, and I couldn't remember who he was. I just thought he was like just another listener. And then after about 6 or 7 emails, I'm like, he says, "Oh, it's Andre from Nick's show." I'm like, "Oh, right. Oh, how's your trading going?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, it's going pretty good." And I'm like, "Hang on a sec. I'm sure you were like struggling back then," which was 9 months ago. Mm-hmm. And And anyway, 70 emails later, I find out what he's doing, and I find out that he's making enough to pay the bills. He'd lost his job, and he's basically trading full time. And then I thought, okay, well, I'll give you a few months, then I'll get you on the show and see how you go. So gave him a few months, got him on the show, and the story was amazing. He basically lost his job, started with $300, and you can do that like with Forex. In the first week, he lost $280.
Wow.
He lost almost the whole lot.
Yeah.
And at this point, he'd done Chris Laurie's course and a few other courses as well. And then he worked out what he'd done wrong, and he's like, he looked back at the week and like, what have I done wrong? Why have I, had a mare? And he's realized that he didn't do anything he said he was going to do, which is, as I've said, that is my problem at the moment, is not doing stuff I say I'm going to do, and falling at like the first loss of the day. Anyway, so next week he said, right, what if I just do everything I said I was going to do? And so from there, he carried on. I've just followed him throughout the next 2 years. It's almost been, maybe it's been longer than 2 years.
Yeah.
He's now got about like 200 guys that he's mentoring, or like he was mentoring, and these guys are basically in his group. So he's training people on a style which is like part of what my style is, and it's absolutely phenomenal. He's got such he's like now buying investment properties, talking about buying Lamborghinis and all this sort of stuff. The stuff that everyone sells you on the hype, he's actually now, even though he's like very humble and doesn't like to spend any money, he's now at the point where he's like having 5-figure days. Sometimes he's having 6-figure days, but he doesn't tell anyone this. Yeah. And I'm like just completely blown away from, because I've got the full story there on air, and I've seen most of his material in terms of what he teaches, and it's next level stuff from a Forex perspective. It's absolutely next level stuff. What the institution's essentially looking at, what the key prices are. I mean, his trades are just crazy. He took actually, I'm going to put a video up tomorrow or today up on the YouTube where he basically he took the Brexit trade yesterday, where on the Great British Pound JPY he had a 4 pip drawdown, and it went. I can't remember exactly how much he took, but it was about if you scroll back there, he had a 4 pip drawdown. It was that spike down.
Yeah, that's it right there.
He took to about where your mouse is now. He took to about that level. Whoop, up. So you got in at the bottom, and then he took it to, if you move your mouse up, he took it to just below, lower. I think, what did we on the 5 minutes? Yeah, I think he took it. It was where your mouse was. Yeah, it was
gotcha. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Great trade.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the sort of stuff. But I've had another guy on who it's the funniest interview ever, and it's probably 3 back now. I don't know what number it is, but the guy's name's If. So if you remember the word If, you can go and find it. And he, the whole thing was, basically his whole view of the markets is based on conspiracy theory.
Okay.
The whole way he trades is based on how the empire is basically running the world and running everyone. And the empire uses the markets to take money from people. Not to make money, just to take money from everyone. So he would have most likely taken the same trade. But no, actually, we wouldn't have. But I could see how his setup works here, and he would have had a similar trade. And in actual fact, there's a video on the YouTube channel, so you can check it out, where he walks through a trade that he took, where he had 10 pip drawdown, and it went 2,800 pips. And
2,000, wow.
2,800 pips. And he said what he does is he just like takes 2 or 3 of these trades, these like mega trades a year, and that's it. he lives in like Vietnam, in some village in Vietnam with like, you know, no running water and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And because I was like, how do you trade? He runs this big academy as well, and like these guys all around the world run it for him, and basically people can learn how to do this trade. I mean, his education is extremely expensive, 17,000 euros to do his education.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose it's partly because of the fact that, you know, he can pick these ridiculous trades. And I have actually heard in my sort of grapevine under the hood of other guys that have used this method and even accentuated it to the point where, say you see that rise there, where the Brexit rise that we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
That is essentially what this guy's saying. He's saying that people are all coming into the market here, like the empire's getting everyone to come into the market, give us all your money, put all your trades in to go short, and then in a very short period of time, 20 minutes or so, well, not 20 minutes, like an hour, we're going to take all your money. Yeah. And everyone who's gone short, we're going to just pick up all their cash. And we're going to go in at the very bottom and just move everyone up gradually, just take all your money. There you go. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. And so that's essentially, and you can sort of see it, you can see it quite often if you look around the charts, this sort of 45-degree angle price run into a demand level, and then price spiking right up to the supply level at the top.
Right.
And so that's essentially how he does it. I lost my train of thought there.
I got you though. Yeah, I mean, makes sense.
So that's what he does. Yeah. So
the example of Nick, I mean, what did he do to make that shift from, you know, having $20 in his account? What did he have to do? Do you remember?
Let me just. I'll come back to that in a second.
Okay.
So I remember what I was going to say. So this other guy's taken it to the extremes where he takes a trade at the bottom, and then he stacks like hundreds or dozens of very small orders all the way up to the top almost.
Mm.
Or smaller orders. So a bigger order at the bottom, a lot of smaller orders all the way up to the top, and using the margin to essentially get there. I mean, the risk is it doesn't work and you blow your account. The reward is you can rapidly grow your account in a matter of like a few weeks. Right. So back to the thing, the $20. Yeah. So his name's Andre Stewart. So I should say his name is Andre Stewart. You can check him out at chartartisttrading.com, and he's got a video there on the truth about trading. He does swear a lot, so bear that in mind if you don't want someone who's swearing in that. But trading, Chartar's trading.
Trading, got it.
Yeah, and yeah, he does swear a lot, but he's so what he did, so he was the guy that did the $20 swearing at the $20.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and he was the one that's I don't know if that was the day that he did it or not. I didn't get that part of the story, but I got that in a different episode. So yeah, he's the guy. So how did he one of the things he always says is like he just decided to see the chart as data. It's just data. So everything is just data. So like the actual cash, the money, he doesn't look at his account balances. He doesn't look at the amount of money that's at risk. So he'll just be able to see the number of points that he's got up or down. Sure. So number of pips going up or down.
Taking off the P&L is a strong way to trade. I agree.
Yeah. And he's not the only one that's mentioned that as well. So some other guys have mentioned that. Like, another one is don't talk about losing and winning trades. It's a plus trade or a minus trade. And yeah, the other thing I think really that helped him was reducing his risk extremely. Like, keeping it as low as possible. I mean, way back when he first started, he was taking these trades with 1 or 2 pip drawdown, and that was on the euro, so it's less liquid. But I think he's extended it out now to more than that, but it's no more than 12 pips on any trade.
Right.
Which gives you a chance. If you can be more accurate, then it gives you a chance to really grow that account. And I mean, he's absolutely phenomenal now. Phenomenal. He was a scalper. Now he's more swing trading, or no, he's still intraday, but he'll only take 1 trade a day. But he just doesn't lose.
Sure.
He just doesn't lose. I think he's at about 88% win rate at the moment.
It's wonderful. Wonderful, man. That's huge. I'm glad to know that you've had a lot of those success stories and been able to talk to a lot of those people and have the opportunity for growth and understand and learn from them and grow alongside them. That's wonderful, man. Yeah,
look, it's been a fascinating journey. I mean, I absolutely love it. That's why I do it. Just meeting all these crazy people around the world. So it's just phenomenal. And the only problem with trading is people who don't trade don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So you got no one. There's nobody to talk about it with at a party or anything like that. That's the only thing. So you got to stick with these groups and do your talking in there.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Well, man, I appreciate you being here. Like that's amazing that 50 minutes already flew by.
I know. Where did it go, eh?
Yeah, we did. You're so easy to speak with, man. Thank you. Thanks for sharing your insights and your wisdom. I look forward to being back on your podcast and working with you in the future, and excited to see where we go from here, man. But thank you for your time. It's been an honor.
Oh, look, mate, it's been great. Thanks for having me on. Really enjoyed it. And we'll talk soon. Talk again very soon.
Beautiful. I love it. Take care, my friend.
All right. See you later.
See ya. There it was, folks. Cam Hawkins, Trading Up Podcast. Sensational. Got a lot of great guests already scheduled for 2019 to be a part of the real life trading, day trading interviews. Got a lot of my mentors, a lot of people that I've worked with in the past, a lot of just great trading, trying to learn and take away just one small piece of information can be incredibly helpful. And one of those takeaways from that discussion with Cam was I like that. The chart is just data, right? It's just data. People are going to be buying, people are going to be selling. We need to interpret what we see. The whole terminology, trade the chart and not your heart, right? Look at it, watch it, see what it's doing. Whatever it is that you want it to do, that's fine, but what is it actually doing? Look at it, determine it, figure it out, take those trades, mitigate your risk, live the trade another day, all those good terminologies. Let me just go through this list really quick to see what's out there. And this is one that we were looking at right before we started the discussion. This was that pharmaceutical company that had the downgrade from Citron. And they did continue a nice bit lower, right? That was the close below that hammer on the 1 minute. There was the retest. There was the little quick sell-off. And again, you had that one final thrust, and there came the bullish volume. So that's what we were talking about right before you're going to get on. If you're going to play it, I mean, you can play it bullish, but just wait for some bullish volume. If you're doing it on a 1 minute chart, a really nice high wave candle right there. I obviously did not play that, but we can again look at the candles and see how we would have based on that analysis. GDOT, green dot. I think we can take that one off the list for for the rest of the afternoon. FedEx, ticker symbol FDX. This is the 5 minute charts. Does look a little like it's trying to break down some. Netflix only down 0.6%. American Airlines, a little bit of an upper shadow, nothing there. FISV, full on retest, potential breakdown right here. The VWAP is not very far from where we're at, 70.54, but Fiserv could be a possible short below that, so you can keep an eye on that one. And the ones that we were looking at, the Bank of America and the Goldman Sachs, for some fades, kept going higher. And then you have Lulu trading sideways. So at this particular point, I don't think I'm going to take any other trades for today. I'll look at and calculate the risk and see where I stand for the day, but it will be a down day, small down day, which is always good. Big fan of those. And then tomorrow we'll come back, nice Thursday. Excited to see what happens and crush it from there. Folks from around the world, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. You are you're amazing people. Thanks for enriching lives with us, and we will see you all later. And until next time, love life, and trade it back.